Hi everybody and welcome to my channel, The Stories Behind the Songs. My name is Luki G and I'm back again to do another song from the US Billboard End of the Year Top 100 Hits Best Songs for the year of 1972. Now, you're wondering why? Maybe, perhaps. If you have not been here before, if this is your first time, the reason why I do this is because it was my time. 1972, I was 19 years old. And I had just finished high school, I think I had just finished high school the year before. And, I was living in Houston at that time. And it was different times, I can tell you that for sure, and yet so similar in many, many ways. A lot of things really haven't changed, even though sometimes we think that they have. But in reality, the going through the motions, the learning, the searching, going out and looking for whatever, it's still here, right? It's still with us, all of you young folks. So even us older folks, we're still searching and looking, it's always cool to know that there's always something around the corner that is going to be new, and it's something that we can learn. Never fails. So anyway, today I am doing an incredible song by a group called War from that period. And just let me give you a little taste of the music here.
You know he loves to drink good whiskey. Oh, 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 while laughing at the moon. Slipping into darkness.
Listen to that bass and the percussions.
Takes my mind.
Oh, amazing. I have to tell you, it's really amazing. And it is listed in the 1972 US Billboard as the top 100 hits. This song is number 23. And let me just pull out some information about this song, okay? So it is called Slipping into Darkness by War. And it's number 23, and the title and this particular line of this title, Slipping into Darkness, is repeated constantly in the song. So it's a very important part of this song. And what does that mean, that you're slipping into darkness, right? It's almost like you're slipping into a dark hole, and you are slipping into this darkness. And what does that feel like? Why? And how do you pull yourself out of it again? It's a very philosophical topic, slipping into darkness, and how we feel when we're slipping into a darkness. It could be like an unknown, slipping into the unknown, and you're slipping because you really might not have a lot of control of this coming in. It might be something that is just a little bit out of your control. Sometimes one might choose to just go with the flow and let it in, and then there's many folks who choose to, okay, I'm going to let it in, but I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to choose not to stay in that darkness. Sometimes that darkness is hard to escape. It's a darkness that maybe we're in it and we don't know how to get out. And sometimes we have to be in that darkness for a while before we can get out. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios, right, for this interesting topic. So I'll be putting a link to this song for you. Now, there's two versions to this song. One is the version that was appeared in their album, which is longer, and then the other version is what was in the single release. And I'm going to be putting both of those versions, the links down below for you. Okay? So, let's talk a little bit about this oh gosh, what did I do? Let's see, where did it go? Here we go. So let's talk a little bit about this this song and the stories that I have found. Okay, so basically the song is from an album that War did that's called All Day Music. All Day Music. If you're a music lover, you know what that means, right? You're listening to music all day, or it's in your head all day, or you're always thinking about it, or you hear a song and it's with you all day. You know, there's all kinds of things. So that was in side A of the single of Slipping Into Darkness. In side B, they had a song called Nappy Head, and it's a theme from Ghetto Man. Nappy Head from the theme of Ghetto Man. That's on side B. And Slipping Into Darkness and the side B, this single, was released in November of 1971. And the genre is funk, my favorite, and soul. The combination of funk and soul is a great vibe. It's really wonderful. You can hear it. Let me play it a little bit for you again. The funk and soul in this song, okay? Let's kind of...
Beyond the trees.
Okay, let me just moving it up a little bit.
I was slipping into darkness.
Now, the funk is that that bass, the harmonica, the fact that the beat is like cut short, and then the soul in it is the lyrics and the song and the voices, the harmonica probably. So that's what this genre is, funk and soul. And okay, so the single is 3 minutes and 59 seconds long, so it's almost 4 minutes. And the album version, the long version, it's 6:59, almost 7 minutes, okay? So it comes with the label of United Artists. That's the label, and it was written by War. And that means some of the folks in the band. It was produced by a guy named Gary Goldstein, and he produced a lot of music for a lot of different people. The song was written by band member Charles Miller, Harold Brown, Howard Scott, Lee Oskar, Lonnie Jordan, and Papa Dee Allen. And it was, like I said, produced by Jerry Goldstein. And the song is, you know, when I was looking at the information on Google AI, it said that it is an unusual blues form with the first lines being repeated in an African and Latin rhythm. Now, you're going to hear that in the long version. There's like this whole introduction of it, okay? So, African and Latin rhythms, that there's a definitely, well, blues does have a strong African influence, duh. And Latin because the percussions also, and there's a strong Latin influence, obviously, because they were from LA. It's like, you know. So the song is from the perspective of someone who, apparently, whose friend's life was taken away. So you have a friend and his life or her life is taken away. And then because of that, you withdraw from reality, having to pay the consequences. Now, what does that mean? So, because of this tragedy of someone you know gets taken away, probably either they get shot or they're arrested, something like that. You know, obviously, this is like a ghetto scene, right? This is 1972, 1971, LA, the ghetto scene. The second song, the side B, makes reference to the ghetto. Nappy head, theme from Ghetto Man. Okay, so if you don't know anything about the ghetto, you should do some research, because it's an important part of American history, modern history, which we don't really talk about it enough these days, because maybe it hasn't, not enough time has passed. 1971, even though it was like 50 years ago, 71, 81, 91, 2001, 2021, 2000. Yeah. 45 years, not even half a century. We don't really study, unless you study modern American history, maybe, and music and the representation of modern American culture, something like that. If you took a class like that in college, or you read some books that talk about these topics, you can learn more about what a ghetto is and what it was like. And so I'm getting where was I? I'm looking at my notes, but then I also go on to my own. Like your friend, who's been taken away, arrested, and so you're so in shock that you withdraw from reality, and you have to pay for the consequences of having been there when that happened to your friend. So it's pretty intense, right? So the song reached number 12 in the United States Rhythm and Blues chart back at that time in 1972, and it was number 16 in the U.S. pop chart, which was another musical chart, and then it stayed at number 16 for 22 weeks on that chart, which is a lot. And it also, it's not also. Well, yeah, it tied most total weeks that year with Gallery's Nice to Be With You. And I'm going to go ahead and post the link to Gallery's Nice to Be With You, so that you can kind of get an idea that how different these two songs were. And yet in 1972, they both, Nice to Be With You and Slipping Into Darkness, were on this chart. And we're talking about the U.S. pop chart of 1972. They were both in this chart for 22 weeks. They made a presence in this chart. That means that a lot of people, in those days, they were listening to the radio. A lot of people were listening and requesting these songs. Anyway, cool stuff. Now, Slipping into Darkness by War is number 23, right? Like I said earlier, in the U.S. Billboard End of the Year Top 100 song for 1972. So 23 is a pretty good mark there. And there's other songs that the chart has that are they put ahead. I'm not doing the chart based on the order that they are on the chart. I'm doing the songs in the order that they are in the amount of views that they've gotten. That's what I decided to do, and so that's why I'm doing this one now. Anyway, so the band War released many hit songs, really good songs. And I remember in 71, 72, 1970, I was listening to these music on the radio, because that's how we heard the music. And then if we liked it, we could afford it, if we had the money, we would go and buy the albums, which a lot of people did. You know, a lot of young people, they found the money and they would go and buy the albums. I wasn't buying any albums, but I was listening to all of this stuff on the radio. And I really used to like this group's sound because it's funk, and I like funk. I don't know how to describe it. It's got that deep bass, deep rhythm. The lyrics were cool. The harmonies were awesome. I loved the percussions. It was like I wanted to get up and dance kind of music style. So they had some pretty. They had a lot of hits. One of their big hits was a song called "Spill the Wine," which was in the charts in 1970, and I did a video on "Spill the Wine." And then they also did a song called "The World is a Ghetto." There's the ghetto again. And then there was another song that's called "Cisco Kid." Maybe you've heard of that one. And "Why Can't We Be Friends?" And then they had another song called "Summer." And, well, you know, great albums. Their music was really good, is really good, because they're still together. Not the same group. I mean, I think there's one of the originals who's still playing as War. They have other musicians playing now, obviously. So another interesting thing about this band was that it was considered to be a musical crossover band. So musical crossover. So what that means is that they played multiple types of genres and were influenced by different genres and styles. And they could cross over and do this, you know. And they were very successful at it. They were one of the first bands to be really successful at this crossover music thing, which, you know, they had that ability to fuse, to bring together rock, jazz, Latin, rhythm and blues, while transcending, overcoming racial and cultural barriers with a multiple ethnic lineup. And what that means is that a lot of these musicians that were hanging out and playing together, very similar to the song that I did just recently, in the last video, which was also that type of a vibe of crossing over. The staple singers, right? I'll Take You There, which is also on this chart. Let me kind of pull this up again. They also did, you know, that was the whole deal of overcoming racial and cultural barriers with. So, like, you know, nobody was really, you know, everybody was hanging out together and doing things together, you know, making music together. And the only time that people weren't getting together and hanging out together were the stupid politicians who wanted to divide all of us, even back then. Okay, so these guys were a musical melting pot. and this is what I got this from Wikipedia. It says that they were a musical melting pot and an enduring influence that has sold nearly 25 million records up to this date. So, yeah, they were pretty good. Let's see here. I hope I don't get in trouble, but I really want to share some of their music. So let me pull something else out so we can listen to it. want to get in trouble. I love it. Do you guys love that? Isn't it great? I think it's fantastic. So anyway, so they, like I was telling you earlier, the members of this band were influenced by a mixing of sounds and styles they heard living in the racially diverse ghettos of Los Angeles, right? All the colored people were in the ghettos, and Latinos and Africans, you know. That's where we were all at. We were in the ghettos. The Chinese, well, they had their own little Chinatown, you know, but the ghettos was usually blacks and Chicanos, Latinos, you know, and all the white people, they were in the suburbs. The ghettos were in usually close to the downtown areas, you know, of the cities, of big cities, back in the 70s, in the early 70s. And there's a whole history and story behind that, but I'm not going to go into that. Their album, The World is a Ghetto, was the Billboard's best-selling album in 1973. I haven't gotten to that, and I'm not doing albums. I'm just doing songs. But that was their best album ever sold. Like I said earlier, they transcended social and cultural barriers with a multi-ethnic lineup. That means multi-ethnic musicians coming in and playing with them. Like no other band in existence. Well, maybe Santana a little bit, but not as much. They were just really doing this all the time. Now, War was subject to many lineup changes over the course of its existence. Like I was telling you, it's still around now. And the only member that's still hanging with, that's still part of War, is Leroy, Lonnie Jordan, the only single member in the current lineup of today. 4 other members created a new group called the Lowrider Band. And that's another song that that's more modern, more, you know, later, that came later on, which was a big hit. It's a great song. Lowrider Band. I am providing a link to their new band below. Okay, yeah. So I went ahead and I'm putting a link below so that you can, there's a link below so that you can, you know, hear them today. And it's a live concert. So in 1962, Howard E. Scott and Harold Brown formed a group called The Creators in Long Beach, California. Within a few years, they had added Charlie Miller, Morris B.B. Dickerson, and Lonnie Jordan to the lineup. Lee Oskar and Papa Dee Allen later on joined as well. And they all shared a love for diverse styles of music, which they had absorbed, living in the racially mixed Los Angeles ghettos. The Creators recorded several singles on Dory Records while working with TJ Contrelli. And he was a saxophonist from a band called Love. And I looked them up, and I kind of thought it was interesting what I heard. So I've added a link to Love. Because TJ Contrelli, who was the saxophonist from that band, he worked with them while they were recording in Door Records as the Creators. So I thought that was interesting. So it'll be cool to check that out. If you're into the music and the different styles and how the influences come and go, you will note that a lot of these are really different than what their war is doing, you know, which is interesting. Now, in 1968, the creators became Night Shift. Okay, so they changed their name from Creators to Night Shift. And that's only because Brown worked night shifts at a steel yard. That's why they call themselves Night Shifts. That's so cute. And I think that's really cool. And let's see. That would be, so let me see, where is he? Harold Brown, one of the initial in 19. Okay, he was one of the original group members who formed the group, actually. All right. So he was working night shift, so they decided to name the band Night Shift. And he was working the night shift at a steel yard in LA and started performing with Deacon Jones, who was also an American football player who was from the same area or the same era. Now, I could not find anything on Deacon Jones. I don't remember now, but I don't have anything here, so I probably was not able to find anything. Now, the band then changed their name from Night Shift to War. Night Shift was conceived by record producer Jerry Goldstein and singer Eric Burdon. He was the ex-singer of the British band The Animals, and they had a bunch of hits back in the 60s. In 1969, Goldsmith saw musicians who he saw in these guys, musicians who would eventually become War, playing at the Ragdoll in North Hollywood. And that was like a club in North Hollywood. There's a lot of history. I would look that up a little bit. It was pretty interesting. Now, they were backing Deacon Jones. Oh, yeah, I did look up Deacon Jones. I remember now. Yeah, Deacon Jones. I'd never heard of him before. He was a blues artist. And I found a link of him playing. He's an incredible keyboardist. So I am going to share that link with you so you can check him out. That's Deacon Jones. Okay, they were backing Deacon Jones. War was backing Deacon Jones back in 1968 or 69. And that's how Goldstein found him. Because Goldstein was already working with Deacon Jones, apparently. And let's see, what else? Oh, so when Goldstein saw them, he really liked their sound. He liked how they sounded. And later on, Jordan says that the band's goal was to spread the message of brotherhood and harmony. Yeah, boy, high ideals that we had back in the 60s and 70s, and I think we still do. Everybody wants harmony and brotherhood, get along with everybody, you know? And so they wanted to spread the message of brotherhood and harmony using instruments and voices to speak out against racism, hunger, gangs, crimes, and turf wars, which was the vibe of a lot of the ghetto scene for many young people back then. And they wanted to promote hope and the spirit of brotherhood. I tell you, and Eric Burdon and War, who they did an album together. Eric Burdon did an album with them, and it was called Eric Burdon Declares War. And if you ever have a chance to listen to that album, you should listen to it. It's really good. And it's about the Southern California before entering into the studio. They were doing a lot of this music, and it really taps in a lot on the Black experience, you know, the memory, the Black memory, the Black experience. And Eric Burden, even though he's not Black, he's white, but he acts Black. He seems like he's Black. So he just fit right in with them, and they did this great music together. And I would say that this album, Eric Burden Declares War, is probably one of my favorite all-time albums. At this point, even though I have a few others that I really love, but and then so together they did that hit song "Spill the Wine," which was a big hit and made War recognizable. People started to know who they were and listen to their music, because Eric Burden did that album with them, and then he left. But what they did with Eric Burden is amazing. And they did that song "Spill the Wine," which was a huge hit. It's a great song. Now, the core members of the original band and who are playing in this particular single, "Slipping into Darkness," we have Howard Scott, who's playing the guitar and doing the lead vocals. And then we have Harold Brown, who's doing the drums. And then there's B.B. Dickerson, who's doing the bass. And then Lonnie Jordan, who's doing the keyboards. Lee Oskar, who does harmonica. Charlie Miller, who's doing saxophone and flute. And Papa Dee Allen, who's doing percussions. Not bad, honestly. Pretty tight. Let me see here. Pretty tight.
Slipping into darkness. Yeah. When I heard my mother say.
Okay. All right. Let me just move on with this. Okay, so that's the lineup, and that's what they sound like. So the song's distinctive rhythm was contributed by the drummer, Harold Brown, drawing inspiration from Miles Davis' album, Bitches Brew. And I love Miles Davis. If you're not familiar with Miles Davis, who's a famous jazz musician, I think he plays the guitar, or is he playing a wind instrument? I don't remember right now, but definitely check him out. But he inspired the cover of this album, drawing inspiration from Miles Davis' album, Bitches Brew, while its extended jam structure exemplifies War's signature improvisational style, according to Google AI. Nice. All right, so the lyrics, lyrics are always interesting, I think, for me, because sometimes I can see through them easily, and then sometimes it's a little more challenging to figure out what's going on behind the surface, reading between the lines, as we tend to say, right? So it's not like you're slipping into darkness, they are slipping into darkness. It's I am slipping into darkness. It's first person. I am slipping into darkness when they took my friend away. So he starts talking about the real story. So took my friend away. I was slipping into darkness when they took my friend away. You know, he loved to drink good whiskey while laughing at the moon. This is really cool because he's remembering nice things that he liked about his friend. The fact that he liked to drink not just any whiskey, it had to be good whiskey. Would that be Kentucky whiskey? I don't know. And laughing at the moon, which is really cool because the moon tends to innovate like more serious, deep stuff, you know, and his friend just laughing at the moon, you know. So I thought that's kind of cool. Slipping into darkness, take my mind beyond the dreams. I was slipping into darkness, take my mind beyond those dreams. Now I'm not really sure what that means. This is one of the times when it's kind of hard to read between those lines because it's so subjective. You know, take my mind beyond the dreams, and then he goes beyond those dreams. So there's the thee and the those, which kind of is different. So beyond the dreams, just in general, dreams, and then beyond those dreams, the ones that are over there, those specific dreams. So there's that one thing that just by looking at the language, you know, I think about. Take my mind beyond the dreams, and then beyond the dreams. So like, you know, we dream when we're sleeping. So there's the dreams beyond it, but we know that the dreams come from the subconscious, right? And so, or might be the subconscious coming out, not necessarily always is the subconscious. Beyond, so is that something deeper, more deeper down than the subconscious? Take my dreams beyond the dream. Take my mind beyond the dreams. I was slipping into darkness. Take my mind beyond those dreams. Okay, so in that space, in that beyond those dreams, where I talked to my brother, who never said their name. When I talked to my brother who never said their name. So this is kind of weird because how can you not know the name of your brother? Well, the brother, it doesn't necessarily mean a blood brother. It could be just another guy from the ghetto brother. When I talked to my brother who never said their name, that means maybe the friend who was taken away, who was his friend because maybe they were hanging out, but he didn't really know his name. But he felt like a brother to him. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe what that means, you know. But it's very subjective. And then slipping into darkness, all my trouble, though I choose. All my trouble, though I choose. I was slipping into darkness. All my trouble, though I choose. Or is it do I choose? I think it's do. Slipping into darkness. All my trouble, do I choose? Slipping into darkness. All my trouble, do I choose? He's not asking the question. When you're singing it, you don't really know. And there's no punctuation because it's being sung, and so like when you look at the lyrics, they're just there, you know. So it's kind of hard. Slipping into the darkness. All my trouble, do I choose? Do I choose? Though I choose. And then he goes on to say, I got a wife and a baby. Now my love hath gained its fame. Now my love has gained its fame. So there's important things probably happening in his life, and this, you know, the I who's speaking here. You know, that we know that he's married, he's got a baby and a wife. So they're married. And then there's this fame, being famous. But he's still slipping into darkness because this other thing happened. And living in the ghetto, slipping into darkness. When I heard my mother say, I was slipping into darkness when I heard my mother say, hey, what'd she say? What'd she say? You've been slipping into darkness. Pretty soon, you're gonna pay. So he's hearing the voice of his mom while he's slipping in the darkness, and she's saying, you've been slipping into darkness, and pretty soon you're gonna pay. So either he's slipping into darkness because he's behaving in a way that he shouldn't be. Something's going on. And that's where the lyrics finish. So in spite of the jumble, emotional mess of the lyrics, the music is completely the opposite. It's not mumble jumble. The music is like straight on. It's tight. It's solid. It's you know, classic pureness of a jam.
Pretty soon you're gonna pay.
Sorry about that. Okay, now I don't want to play anymore because I don't want to get in trouble. But anyway, you see what I mean? The music is just like spot on. You know where that music's going. You know what's coming up next. It keeps repeating itself. It's like solid. Solid. And the main line, slipping into darkness, is we know exactly what that means. But everything else is jumble mumble because it's very subjective. It's very personal, and there's not a lot of detail being told. And so you might end up guessing, or like I might end up guessing. And that's okay, you know, but what makes this song so amazing is the music and the ability of these musicians and the way they're playing their songs, the way they're playing those instruments. So it's funk soul, my friends. And now maybe you understand why funk is just like, for me, the best type of music. I mean, there's a lot of good music for sure. But, and these guys, there's a lot of good funk musicians too. But these are funk blues. They're not, there's some funky musicians from the 70s that are way out there. I remember because I was looking them up about 10 years ago. I got into looking them up because I was curious. I wanted to look some of them up. And some of them I had never heard before. And they were really pretty amazing. These guys are like really, it's that blues keeps them structured. Perhaps the blues component keeps that music on focus, I think. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. All I know is that it's really good and it's a lot of fun. I hope you guys liked it. And hey, take good care. Peace, love, understanding. Talk to you later. Bye. Adios.